Andrew McCart, IFLTV, delighted to be joined by, I want to say, my good friend, Stephen Smith. Stephen, how are you, sir?
All good, mate. Yourself?
Good, very, very well. Listen, we had a good chat there because, you're a young coach and I'm a young coach, and you were just explaining to me about the sense of enjoyment and relief that you have when you see one of the fighters that you've had from a young man make his debut and stuff like that. And just you've been there as well, and I've been there now. And it's a great feeling, isn't it?
Unbelievable. I think I felt like turning pro myself with young Steve Clark, knowing the kid, knowing his family for a very long time, and I could feel the nerves, the excitement, the butterfly, which I never thought I'd get as a coach. I thought having a full fighting career, amateur and pro, I thought, what's the most to worry about? You know what I mean? I'm getting in the ring and I'm doing the easy bit, giving them a drink. I thought I'm not going to be nervous for that. But when I got in there, I realised how much you want them to win and how much you want it for them, how much you see them prepared and how much they put into the sport. So that's just in you, and the human side of you just wants well for them, and you want the best, and you just hope it goes well, and you obviously hope you give them the right advice on the way. It'd hurt me bad if I give bad advice and then it was detrimental to him. So I just want to do the best I can as a coach, and I felt that. I can feel it definitely in terms of some of the fights. But listen, the more experience I'm getting, the more I'm realising, look, I'll always be all in with my fighters, but ultimately they've got the bigger job.
Definitely, I totally agree with you there. Now, you've been in world title fights, you've won British titles, you've won Commonwealth medals as an amateur, you've been in corners for European title fights with Charlie Edwards, you've been in there with young fighters making their pro debut. But have you ever felt more nervous being in the corner for your younger brother last weekend?
Do you know what it was? It was a strange feeling. I probably get the most nervous out of the brothers when we fight, and they'll all tell you the same. I can't keep still, and that's why I'll always sit beside the ring where the cameras can't see me, because I'm moving for every punch and that. But when it was Callum's fight, I sort of knew just beforehand that the Buatsi fight was done as well, so I knew what was at stake going into it. He had to go in and get the ring rust off, but ultimately he had to win. And I had the sort of brotherly nerves anyway, but I knew I had a job to do for him, and I was just thinking, look, same again, as I say, just give him the right advice, help him on the way, don't be detrimental to him in terms of telling him the wrong things and then be thinking, come on Swift, you know what I mean? So I thought, listen, I watched the opponent for him, and I give him what I thought, and I told him bits and bobs, just shots that would work and what to be aware of. The kid out of his 20 wins and not 19 out, so I knew he had to be switched on. And okay, Tech, and I knew he had to be switched on, and ultimately, more importantly, he knew that. So he wanted to get in and get out early, so a lot of people were messaging saying, why is he on so early and all this, but it was his choice. That's just Callum being Callum. He's not about the glitz and the glamour. He was like, look, let other people get on the main card. I want to be in and out, done, and moving on to the big one next for him.
See, the scary thing is, though, that it looks like on the fight card that Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi might be the first fight of that card, but that card, every single fight's a main event, and for the fact that Callum Smith, and Buatsi are like the first on, that's what a card that is.
Shows you, though, doesn't it? It shows you what, again, a lot of people sort of complaining about, like the Saudis in boxing and blah blah blah. And I just look at it and think, if you're a boxing fan, how can you complain? You're getting, as you say, build topper after build topper on the same night. Each of them fights could top their own bills and be like a month apart, and you'd only see that amount of top fights in a year under the one promoter. This fella's putting them all on the one night. Like, fans are just licking the lips at how good the shows are. There's never been a bill like this, in my opinion, for quality fights and quality fighters all going up against each other. It's one of them bills, again, a bit like the 5v5, where if you go and ask 100 people, you won't get many picking the same winners all along. You're going to get a lot of people split, or more realistic. If you ask 10, I bet you there wouldn't be more than 2 pick the same winners. You know what I mean? It's that type of card, and they're the ones that, as boxing fans, you want to do. You don't want to go in and just see all prospects beating journeymen, and you don't want to go in and see all fights which, if you look at the odds, they're all 1 to 25s and stuff like that. You want to see fights where the proper pick and fights and the good throwback fights where people are putting their O's on the line, people are going in with big tests where people are picking them to lose. And knowing myself through my career, I think they're the better fights, when all of a sudden people are saying, like, nah, he doesn't win this, and you're sitting there going, oh, okay, and then you go out and you prove a point and you win. When then people come up to you, you find you get more credit than you've ever had before. People will then give you the credit you deserve. When they're saying, look, I think he loses, and you go and win, they hold their hands up and you say, do you know what, fair play, and you get more credit then. So these are the type of fights what will get that sort of recognition from. But more importantly for Callum, it's about getting himself back in that world title contention, and Joshua Buatsi at the minute, the world interim champion to be out. So it's a belt for Callum, and it puts him right there. Now, if the big one on the night, you know, if it's a bit one-sided or whatever and the belts become vacant, then he's going to be world champion again.
Last night, Callum said that his goal is to become that world champion again, and the two-weight world champion. And Buatsi's on a great run of form. Great win against Willie Hutchinson last time out there. This light heavyweight division's on fire. You've got the two guys at the top. That's going to be the main event on this card. But there is that sort of carrot at the end of this Buatsi fight, isn't it? There's always that carrot that you could face the winner. That could be if there's not a rubber match between them. So he can't take his eye off the ball with Buatsi.
No, listen, Buatsi's got his own sort of credit coming into the fight. You know, he's the champion. He's an Olympic bronze medalist, and you know he's coming along at his own rate as a pro. You know, he's beating everyone what's in front of him, so you can't really knock him in that way. I just think, I'm looking at it from Callum's point of view. Stylistically, I think it suits him really well. I think, if you Buatsi and you're getting it with the shots he's getting it with, and someone who carries Callum's power, that's a bad sign, in my opinion. If Willie Hutchinson's stiffening your legs and stiffening your upright, then good luck. Do you know what I mean? I just think I've looked at the fight and seen at the outcomes and how it could play out, and I only see one winner, in my opinion.
Callum's going to be in the ring first. He's going to be that challenger. He's going to be the hunter again. A lot of people have hunted Callum coming through the road, apart from maybe the Beterbiev fight. But this fight seems like he is really back to being that guy that's chasing him at the top again. And does that suit Callum? Is that when we will see the best Callum? Yeah, listen,
let's not forget, he's challenged for and won a world title in the past. You know, went in there, challenger, went in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first time in his career he was the underdog going into a fight. Because he'd had so many one-round blowouts early in his career, the bookies were always terrified of Callum. We used to laugh at it, and he was always odds on in his fights and stuff, and he was always a big favourite going into them, even when sort of they were, you know, remember Callum and Rocky in the arena. It was a British title fight, two unbeaten fighters. You know, went on to be really successful themselves on world level. So, you know, but winning world titles, that's a big fight for a British title. And there was a lot of people in the city picking Rocky to win. And again, I was a bit surprised. I was like, really? And it was more sort of, again, back to it. Callum got a lot more credit for it, but you looked at the bookies, he was still an odds-on favourite, and it was a bit like we were always sort of like the bookies won't go against them. And Groves on, he went the ring as an underdog, he went the ring as a challenger, he was in with the champion, and he was in with the number one in the world at the weight at the time. So he's done it before. He can, you know, reflect back on that night. He was up against it. He was in with a good champion, and he ripped the title from him. So it's just sort of a case of going over old ground for him in that sense. He can go do it again. He's in with a good champion, one who's, you know, he's got his respect definitely. Listen, I'm not saying for 1 minute Callum can look past Joshua Buatsi. He's a top kid, he's a top fighter, amateur and pro. So he's got all the respect he deserves. But I just think it'll equal a more switched on, more determined Callum Smith, and I think that's a problem for anyone.
Are you helping out in the corner again? Are you going to be in his corner, or is Buddy going to be back in there?
No, he's still with Buddy. As I say, listen, I helped him for the last fight because he took the fight in 2 weeks' notice. So he's trained with me while he's here anyway, and you know, he's taken over, training with me, staying fit, and then took the fight in 2 weeks' notice, knowing that Buatsi was coming up, so he needed to get rid of a bit of ring rust. So he said, look, do this one, and then, you know, for the next one, he wants me to help out and help him along with Buddy, but you know, ultimately Buddy's his trainer.
Who's easier to train? Between, obviously Liam's over there doing an interview right now, is Callum the most easiest to train? If you had to train Paul, Liam or Callum, which one would be the easiest one to train in your eyes?
Callum, and then I'd train Callum again after it, you know what I mean? He's just, Callum's Callum, he doesn't speak much, he just gets in the gym, gets on with it, but do you know what, he's the ultimate professional in terms of, not many people, former world champions, I bet you could count them on one hand, if you could fill one hand, I think, who'd basically say, look, there's a big fight coming next year, February. Okay, I want to fight first. They go, okay, the only fight we've got is in 2 weeks. And go, okay. Not many fighters, former world champions, you know, in the mid-30s could take a fight in 2 weeks' notice. That's the professional he is, that's the life he lives. You know, he eats clean all year round, he's not a drinker, he just goes to the gym, practices, works on his game, and at the end of the day, as I say, takes fights in 2 weeks' notice, goes out, gets the job done, and now it's all systems go for a big one, and he deserves everything he gets. He's a consummate professional, and I think it'll show in the long run. What did Callum say to you after that? I know it was basically a fight to get the ring rust off, but
but you've still got to be the coach in there. You've still got to be the trainer. Brother and brother, there's always going to be that special relationship, obviously. But to be his coach and to give him that advice that you said, and you were worried not to give him the wrong advice because of the carrot at the other end there. So what did Callum say to you after the fight in the changing room? Was there anything like, "Great job, Stevie," or anything like that?
Do you know what? Callum's not that. He's just a man of few words. He's not that guy. No, definitely not. No, that's not Callum.
Give you a fist bump and that's it.
Yeah, listen, he knows. Listen, we spoke before it about, you know, making sure he switched on, about the fight that the fella with 19 knockouts and 20 wins. He can obviously punch, going on early. You know, it was all a case of, you know, we've got a lot to lose here. Make sure you switched on. But I went through, watched the opponent, I told him a few tendencies he had, what shots he likes to throw, what shots he looks for, and also when he's getting the back foot, what shots you can walk him onto. And Callum had a look. We'd seen at the times that he'd been done himself. It was always seemed to be the body. He had a bit of quitting, and when you start hitting his body, which is ideal for Callum. And he done sort of everything I asked of him. I'm not saying for 1 minute it was like my game plan would won it, because Callum...
Take the credit.
Yeah, but Callum's a class act. He can go out, he could probably go out with me mum in his corner and win that fight, you know what I mean? I'm not deluded in thinking that, but it was good to sort of sit with him and speak about it. And as I say, he's a man of few words, but after the fight, I just said to him, do you know what, Carl, it couldn't have went more perfect in my opinion. To get the 5 rounds under his belt was ideal. At the end of the day, we're not, if he's gone out and blew him out in a round, we haven't learned nothing new. Callum can punch. Everyone in the world knows Callum can punch. Callum can finish. Everyone knows he's a finisher. So that wouldn't necessarily, a little confidence boost after Beterbiev, but ultimately he needs rounds, and he needed a bit of both. And you know, we went out there and he got 5 good rounds. He got someone throwing shots at him. We give credit to the kid to keep his game as anything. Kid tried his best. He had shots through at him. He had to open up gaps, and he done everything. He got 5 good rounds, and now he can just sit back, concentrate on the Buatsi now, and go and make a statement.
Listen, as a coach myself, it was all down to you. You got that win that weekend.
Very well, mate.
Listen, it's probably as a dream of mine. I would love to maybe be in the opposite corner than you one day. If we ever have the fighters at the same day, and just, you know what I mean, just that sort of, it would just be amazing if I had Stephen Smith, a guy that I've had, I'm going to be honest with you, I've admired you for a long time, so it'd be good to just...
I get where you're coming from, but I'm learning quite quickly now. I'm getting on shows, and all of a sudden you're standing there, and even just at weigh-ins, and you've got other fighters, you've got other coaches you've got respect for, again, former fights you've got respect for, and they're now in the corner and stuff, and you're standing there and you're thinking, like, it's like all starting again. This is like you're going to come up against each other and stuff, so I get exactly where you're coming from. Me, personally, I don't want to go against you, mate, but we'll see what happens.
We'll always shake hands. We'll always thank you very much, Smith. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, mate. Thank you.